everybody, and welcome to another edition of Coach's Night Out live from Town Square Social. Town Square Social, located on Lebanon's Public Square, and I've got my notes here in front of me. 145 Public Square, open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. They cater. We're in the upstairs loft. There's always room up here. This is a great place for private gatherings, birthday parties, small class reunions, little get-togethers. Just give them a call. Call Kyle or Cody at Town Square Social, and they've been a great host to us throughout the history of this program. Our sponsors, Advantage Home Solutions, LLC, Rob Painter and Donnie Self, Kenny Salas and the hometown team of Keller Williams Realty, Cumberland University Athletics, and the October 8th appearance in Lebanon of Tim Tebow, D.T. McCall's and D.T. McCall and Sons, Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Franklin, and Cookville, and THW Insurance Service, LLC. My brother, John Bryan, who is involved heavily with THW Insurance, with us here. John, thanks, as always, for the sponsorship. And THW, it can be a one-stop insurance stop for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, we handle everything from homeowners to auto insurance, life insurance, health insurance, commercial property, general liability, commercial bonds, the whole gamut of the insurance industry. We can handle it right here on 321 West Main Street in Lebanon. We have a really good relationship with Wilson Bank and Trust, and we have a THW Insurance Center inside the main office. Their main office, 623 West Main Street, where Carl Ragland heads the Herschel Lines group up, and we got a lot of capable people, both in the Lebanon main office, and then Lord Carter is in West Wilson and handles the west end of the county down there for us. So anyway, we got everything. One thing that's coming up here soon is Medicare supplements, and open enrollment's going to be happening. Linda Van Treese is in our main office at West Main Street. So if you need some help trying to figure that stuff out, give Linda a call. She's forgot more about that than most people will ever know. So she works on that 5 days a week and sometimes 6 days a week.
Business coverage, umbrella policies to protect what you've earned in your business throughout the years, that's huge.
Right. We handle all types of general liability and along the personal lines route. In the society and the world we live in today, everyone needs a personal umbrella. And then for a couple of $100 more a year, most of the time, you can get that $1 million umbrella attached to your homeowners and auto insurance. So give us a call at 615-443-3849 or go online to thwins.com, and we'll be glad to help you.
John, thanks to THW for your sponsorship. We always appreciate it.
Good to be here. Good luck.
We'll be back with more, and our first guest of the evening, Chuck Gentry, head coach of the Lebanon High football team, after this quick timeout. platforms, including the Wilson Post, Main Street Preps, Blue Devil Broadcasting. It's on my Twitter feed, Twitter at TBSports85, at TBSports85. Strange little schedule we've got going this week. We've got a Thursday night football game. Springfield is at Wilson Central on Thursday. Friday, Seagulls at Lebanon, Grace Christian at Friendship Christian at 7:30. Warren County at Mount Juliet Christian Academy plays at Middle Tennessee Christian. Green Hill is at Columbia Central, and Watertown goes up the road to Smithville to take on DeKalb County High School, longtime rival Watertown and DeKalb County. As always, Chuck Gentry, head coach of the Blue Devils, leads off the show for us this week. And again, kind of a crazy week, Chuck. You go out, you warm up for that football game with Cookeville, and you have to go back inside, and you're not able to get back out until about 9:35 to actually start playing football. You win the football game 41-14, but what a screwy night for you, your staff, the kids, the fans, the band, everybody.
Well, I've never been through anything like it, Tom. You know, we pushed warm-ups back, thought we were fine. We thought the sail was going to go a little west of us, and we were going to be okay out of the 10-mile lightning radius. And instead, it come right over the press box almost. And we were standing there at about 6:45 looking, and the head referee said that lightning might have just hit the press box. So we pushed it back, and we kept pushing it back. And, of course, phones and weather apps and all that stuff. And I did my best to try to play weatherman and looking at it, I didn't want to call it and go on Saturday because it looked like it was going to rain all day Saturday. And, Coach Brady does a good job taking care of that field, and we want to keep it as plush as we can, and didn't want to tear it up on a soupy Saturday night. So plus there was thunderstorms in the forecast. Some played even on Sunday afternoon. Yeah. So we said, let's wait it out. We talked to Coach Martin, Jacob, myself, Coach Hennigan, the head ref, and we decided, all right, we'll try to get going when we can. And ended up
had to be a consideration in this thing also because they had buses of football players. They'd driven all that way down there. And in this day and age, getting buses and bus drivers, people willing to drive them, isn't the easiest thing in the world.
Not easy to go back home and then come back and pay bus travel for 2 days in a row. There was a lot of discussion about different things involved, and we thought the best thing was to go ahead and play. And bands, it was going to be late, so the bands went home. But I do want to say thank you to the students and the people that stayed. I know parents and stuff, and then the ones with small children. We understand the ones that went home, and some stayed till halftime and stuff. But eventually got to get out and play a little football. And not to say we played great, but adversity that a couple of years ago that I would definitely not wanted to face, we handled it okay.
And when you finally got to start playing football, offensively, you looked a little, and I don't know really the word, maybe a little ragged early on, but defensively, at least from my perspective, I thought you played pretty good football right out of the jump.
Well, we got the ball early and went in and I guess 2 or 3 plays and scored there. But we were not in sync. And, I'll take the blame for some of that. Cookeville was kind of going to play umbrella and bend but don't break kind of thing. And I had 2 or 3 coaches that finally tapped me and said, just get in there and run it at them. They're not, and I was wanting to get it going fast, get the clock running, get out, because I felt like that we were going to be in control of the game, and I might have prolonged some of that with some calls that I could have helped us with. And as a coaching staff, I don't think we did a good job offensively of putting our kids in the best position. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It's a learning process. Our huddle wasn't working, so a lot of it was all right. I'll see it on Saturday.
So when you say your huddle's not working, that's the in-game video that you can look at on the iPad.
On the iPad and look at it and see. the side shot was working, but the end zone wasn't. And so that's where you can see the box and some of the stuff. And you want a light box, and we were getting it some, and that tells you to run the football, and we didn't do that, and maybe to my fault. So, but we did play good defense. Eventually got going, especially played good defense against the pass.
Pass rush was outstanding, and Jack Kleiner gets a lot of the accolades. He got a couple of Player of the Week awards, 7 tackles for loss, 6 quarterback sacks, but playing in concert with DeMonte Cook and Stonewall Jackson up front is how he was able to get loose and make some of those plays.
Well, yeah, Jack had 6 sacks, and not taking anything away from him, because anytime you line up in a football game and you get 6 sacks, you've definitely played well and done something right. But there was some coverage aspects in that were helping. We were taking away some things. Jack just beat his man a couple of times. A couple of times it was Damani pushing him, and he steps up, and Jack falls back in. One time he steps up and he runs into Stonewall, who's pushing the pocket back, and Jack makes a sack. I mean, there were different ways, but definitely 6 sacks is something to write home about, and it's probably a night that we'll all remember and talk about for a while. But a lot of that is scheme and teammates and 11 people playing together to do what they're asked to do and to execute the call.
You got a sophomore playing corner, number 8, and I've gone blank on his
Damian
Callaway, who doesn't mind sticking his head up in there and making plays, and he can cover. He gets downfield. He's got a real future in front of him.
Damon's a good player. He was one of the leaders and best players on their freshman team who had a good year last year. And Dame has progressed, and he's kind of got that corner mentality where next play, short memory and less play. And he has done a good job of some of the things we do. And he definitely doesn't lack for confidence, and so he has done a good job out there on an island when he's been asked to.
And Chuck, you've coached secondary a bunch in your career, played back there at Cumberland. It takes that kind of mentality. It takes a special kind of guy to go out there and do what's asked of him, and many times he is on an island.
And it's probably the hardest position besides quarterback to play, because you're out there by yourself. And we were talking about it last, I guess, maybe Saturday morning. When the defensive line messes up, the linebacker and secondary makes them right. Not many people understand, well, the defensive lineman wasn't in his gap.
Yeah.
When the linebacker messes up, the secondary you can make them right. But when you're in the secondary and you mess up, it's usually the goalpost and the scoreboard that's affected. And you have to have that. It's okay to mess up. You have to have that daredevil mentality, that alpha mentality of throw it at me, come on. And Deion Sanders used to get he used to mess up, but it's the next play. You got to have a short memory, and we ask our corners at times to be a up in press man by themselves, and they've got the one-on-one and let's go. And you have to have the patience and the confidence and the athletic ability to do that. And sometimes scares me sometimes, because as the offensive guys, but that's some of the hardest balls to complete is the long ball one-on-one. A lot of times we can't do that in practice. So, it's hard enough on game night. So, that's a percentage thing that we talk about and we do. And then there's times when we look like we're one-on-one and we're not, and have help. So, it's a tandem thing, but definitely a lot of confidence goes into it.
I want to say, and just going back and look at Terry Stafford's stats, there were 12 tackles for either loss or no gain in that football game. And so when you go in negative or 0 against the offense, that puts them in a big hole.
Yeah, anytime you get behind the chains, it makes you, want to probably feel like they felt like it was hard to block us in there. And so, they were negative, plus that meant they're going to throw the football, plus it was wet. And so, we were able to peel our ears back, bring a little pressure, and that makes defense fun. And our guys were playing with some enthusiasm, having a little fun. And once you say sick them, let's go get after the quarterback. Then that's a lot easier to play. Then you have to worry about all right, they're going to run the football or may play action pass, all that stuff. But able to make some calls in there to say, all right, let's go get them.
Speaking of go get them, Key Crowell goes and gets another punt, and as he kind of Cook comes out, Key Crowell goes in, and I'm talking to Bob on the broadcast. I said, now, where's Key going to line up? And I'm thinking just about anywhere he wants to line up, and shortest distance between 2 points, straight line, and he goes and blocks that punt right up here under his arm. 3 weeks in a row, Lebanon special teams has altered a punt, blocked the punt that either created points or immediately led to points. What a great situation, and you guys scheme that. You work that in practice.
Well, we work that, and when we're kicking extra points ourselves, Key's coming off the edge. When we're punting, Key's coming off the edge, unless he's on the punt team, which he is some. But he has done that for us since he was a freshman and worked on that. He's an athletic, explosive kid, and he's not afraid to go take a football off the chin, off the and there's an art to that.
Well,
You
sure.
got to be willing to sacrifice your body. You got to be willing to lay out and do those things. And he takes pride in it, and he's found a niche that, all right, where can I fit in on this football team? Where can I earn playing time? And that's a thing. And he's taking pride in it, and the other guys are taking pride in it. Let's go get it. Let's play. And sometimes I'm like, let's play safe. They're gonna fake this thing, But sometimes Coach Williams wants to play safe, and let's go. But it's one of those. It's one of those things that it is a weapon for our football team and Key and that whole special team unit, punt return unit is doing a good job. And when you think about it, if you're punting, you got to make sure you block, make sure one crowd don't block it, and then if you punt, you got to make sure the other crowd don't catch it.
Which 57 yards away, Anthony made the catch on the very next punt and broke that thing and was off to the races. Third time in 3 games, 2 kickoffs, and now a punt return for Anthony Crowell.
Well, he is a special kid. Gets 2 or 3 little blocks there, and he makes 1 or 2 miss. The guys that were doing the broadcast from Cookville stopped me and said when he did that little shimmy and dropped one right there on about the 45-yard line, and he just kind of wilted. He said, goodness gracious. And so, Anthony's got that kind of ability, and anytime we can get him in the ball with space, he's going to do special things and hard to tackle. But like I said, he had 2 or 3 people get in the way to shield off blockers and give him a crease, and he does the rest. And
When you got a guy like that, Chuck, you don't really need big blocks, because maybe a big block, you get your head on the wrong side and maybe there's a penalty. If you just kind of get out there and shield for him, just kind of get in the way, he's going to take care of the rest.
Well, and it's there's a fine art of when can I hit him, when can I not, when do I peel back, do I not? And we had, if you watch the film, you've got people getting in front of people with their hands up. Key Crowell he went to block it and peeled back and really made a good block, and the kid actually hip tossed him. And they were rolling over there on our sideline, and I was running down the sideline to yell at him because I thought he had hit him behind the ball, and they had to tell me no, he was engaged and was good, and the kid hip tossed him. And when I saw the film, that's what it was. But it's unselfish football from a lot of players on those teams, and whether it's the kickoff return team or the punt return team, it's a unit, and anytime we can change the field position or get points, kudos to them.
Sean Heath, 100 yards, 107, I want to say, on 10 carries, scored a touchdown, popped a big one there. Sean hit it up in there and hit some creases and found some creases. And one thing I liked about him, Chuck, he had both points of that football covered up when he hit that line of scrimmage.
And Sean's doing a really good job for us. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. He's got a few blocks out on our jet sweep and some stuff and some pass protection. And he's doing it all. He's not worried about how many carries he gets or how many yards he gets. And what I was most impressed about it, when he got in the secondary, it looked like he hit another gear that probably a lot of our folks hadn't seen if you hadn't seen the scrimmages. And, he was shot out of a cannon once he got to the second level. And, he is a hard runner, hard-nosed, tough kid and a great vision. And we harp on holding on to the football, especially at that time when we're, in the trying to milk the clock and kind of slow the game down. And he did a good job and popped it and then put Andrew Hodge in there. And he, got a good, I guess, 6 or 7 carries to the end zone. So, just another element to our game that we're going to have to rely on down the road.
41-14, the win over Cookeville. You started defense of your region championship. You opened the region 1-0. You step back out of the region this Friday as Siegel comes to town. Siegel's 2-1. What do you know about the Siegel Stars?
Well, Murfreesboro team, Rutherford County team, last year, had a really, really good football game with them and, had to hang on there at the end. They were driving and hang on to win. We didn't feel like we played specifically well last year against them, especially on defense. We were toying with some new things. And then, they've got a good quarterback. I think it's Thomas Santel, number 10. He's a junior, didn't play a lot last week because he's been banged up. But he is a very good quarterback, very slippery, who makes their offense go. When you look at their defense, 2 outside linebackers, the 2 corners, and the 2 safeties are very athletic kids. 2 defensive tackles are not as big as we usually see, but they're quick and mobile. And 2 inside linebackers that fit well. So, they haven't given up a lot of points until last week, and some of that was based off of special teams and their offense. But we feel like it'll be a tough test and that we need to bring our A game.
Some games are being moved to Thursday. Some people are concerned about the weather, and I know you look at the weather just like everybody else. Has any of that crossed your mind?
I got a text Tuesday morning, got a text Tuesday night, got a text this morning. We looked at the weather, and matter of fact, the weatherman that I am, I went to 7 different places. And it was all over the place from starting at 4 o'clock to starting at 11 o'clock, in and out, but mainly just some light rain, then heavier rain later, and not much chance of thunder and lightning. And so, after talking to the Coach Martin and the Siegel coach and stuff, we decided we're just leaving it on Friday night. And if we get a little wet, we get a little wet. Based on the logistics of trying to change everything and it not being, it was even changing, 20%, 30% even this afternoon. Yeah. So who knows? And, like I say, I'm not a weatherman, don't claim to be. I would rather play on the dry field, but can't control it. And, we felt like with everything going on, most people will be ready and geared for Friday night. So let's just keep it that way.
You had a great crowd when the game was supposed to start. With Cookeville. Cookeville brought a good bunch too. But what do you say to the hardy folks who stuck around to the very end of that thing? And there were some folks who stayed until it was all over.
Well, I actually looked up, when we played Central and had a huge crowd. And then when we were getting ready to go in, I was looking over the press box there at the Lightning, and that place was almost as full as it was. Of course, we did some things with the students where they got in free if they had some perfect attendance and things like that last week at school. But there were a huge crowd, and then the ones that stayed, true blue for sure. You definitely, we missed the band, the atmosphere and everything that was going on. But again, under the circumstances, I stayed after the game was over. My wife and kids were gone. My family was gone, and I'm like, well, it is midnight, so I don't blame anybody else because I told Joe, it's about bedtime. So, but for the ones that stayed, we do appreciate it. We appreciate the support. Support's been great. my whole tenure here, and hope it keeps just building and building, and everybody's excited for football on Friday nights in Lebanon.
I want to touch on just a couple of things. Team meals this week, sponsored by Ben Spurlock at Southeast Impressions and Heath and Kelly Thorne. Thursday, Friday, JV meal, freshman meal on Thursday, varsity meal. Well, I've gone blank here. 2 meals on Thursday, varsity and freshman, and then Friday, varsity only. Southeast Impressions, Ben Spurlock, Heath and Kelly Thorne, footing the bill for that. And then Shop Springs Creamery, the official chocolate milk of Lebanon High football. Thanks to Family Medical Associates and Pediatrics for making that possible this year. And you've got a great thing going with Shop Springs Creamery.
Oh, it's a great thing, and it's fun to watch those kids come in. Is there any milk? Can we get it? And it's like, yes, they can, no, they can't, depending on the time and the day and everything. But it's they love it, and it's good stuff. Or have to keep the coaches out of it too. But we appreciate Family Medical and Associates for sure for putting that on, sponsoring us and putting that in their bellies of our kids in Shop Springs Creamery, making it good.
Chuck, always good talking to you. Best of luck. Joe will talk to you in the postgame.
Thank you, Tom.
Chuck Gentry, head coach of the Blue Devils, with us here on the first segment of Coach's Night Out, live from Town Square Social. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more. Our second segment of Town Square Social, of Coach's Night Out from Town Square Social. I've only been doing this 4 years. I ought to be able to get that down pretty fat. Our sponsors, Advantage Home Solutions, LLC, Donnie Self and Rob Painter, Kenny Salas and the hometown team of Keller Williams Realty, THW Insurance Services, LLC, Cumberland University Athletics, and the October 8th appearance on campus of Tim Tebow and D.T. McCall and Son, Carthage, Lafayette, Lebanon, Franklin, Cookeville. Tim Mathis, head coach at Cumberland University, with us here in this segment. And Tim, things kind of really got put into perspective. You were coming off a come from behind, a thrilling football win, 25-24 over Weber International, and then bam, life kind of hits everybody on that campus, kind of hits them in the face.
Yeah, it was it's something I know I talked to you about. It's something as a coach, I've been doing this well over 20 years, and it's it is the one. I'm not a worrier. I don't worry, but it is the one thing every weekend that I always worry about is getting a text or a call, and it finally happened.
Accident, one car accident in Murfreesboro involving 5 guys associated with the football program. Marcus Webb from West Tennessee, from Tipton County, played at Mumford. Starter for you last year on the defensive front, made a lot of plays at that outside linebacker defensive end spot. Killed in that accident. Jameer Johnson from Perry County, Georgia, was the driver of the vehicle. He's beat up pretty bad. Brandon Pace Jr., and these 3 guys are all McGavick kids. Brandon Pace Jr. plays corner for you, had 5 tackles in that win over Weber International. He's beat up badly. And then you've got Lamar Childress and Jeremy Matthews. Are they still hospitalized now?
Lamar has went home. He got to go home yesterday. So, that's great news for that. Jeremiah is still at the hospital in Murfreesboro. He's still recuperating from all his injuries, and hopefully in a week or so he's going to get to go home. Those 2 were in Murfreesboro where the accident happened. They were taken to the local hospital because they were alert, and so they took them there. And it's just, you're thankful that's happened. And Brandon's in the fight of his life. He's a fighter, and he's looking at it, there's times you were thinking, boy, this doesn't look good. But the last 24 hours have been hopeful, and they're by no means everything. When you get the injury he has, just baby steps, and he's had a lot of baby steps the last 24 hours. He's going to be in a fight for a long time. And and a lot of people have reached out. You just continue to pray for it and pray for a recovery, and hopefully that happens.
That Cumberland community has kind of drawn tight together. I know that there's a prayer vigil, perhaps, going to be at Lebanon Church of God on C.L. Manier Street Thursday at 7:30. That's primarily for the football team in the campus community, but there's a church in the community that's reached out to you guys.
Right, they have, and the pastor there, when finally found out, got the news, and I spent the most part of the day trying. I found out where Lamar and Jeremiah were pretty quick, but I spent most of the rest of the day, early morning Sunday, I'm trying to find kids. I'm looking for where are they at, and but after we found out what had happened, obviously we called the team together because most of them knew, but I wanted to make sure they knew what was going on and what condition each kid was in, and the pastor there at Lebanon Church of God, he showed up, and it's a great thing, and offered to do this. And it's like you said, with the community, because it's just, for me, I look at it as I have 135. They're kids.
Yeah,
they're my kids while they're here, and you talking about keeping it close, and it's one thing you are keeping it close, and because it is a family thing, and it's something we believe in. Our kids get tired of hearing me say it a lot of times about us and how we want to build relationships, and it's real tight, and we want to keep it a family matter. And it's, you get society stuff goes on. They this and that want to report on this and that. They want to report on the bad things that happen. And these are kids that have mamas and daddies that are hurting. They have friends that are hurting, teammates, family, because we're all a family, and they're hurting. And I don't want to talk about the bad stuff.
sure.
I want to talk about those kids, and this is getting them better, and that that's all that matters to me. I'm not gonna the world's got too much negative anyway. These 5 kids were great kids that made a bad decision, and it's going to affect them, and it's going to affect their families the rest of their lives. And I don't want to hear about all the other stuff, and it's one reason. That's why I'm talking to you about it, because you've never once asked me, hey, you work for a paper and stuff, and it's your job to do that, but you didn't even once ask me about that, and that, that means a lot. But
Well, it can't be anything that you can prepare for, Tim. And you've been doing this 20 years, and I've been doing what I've been doing about 40 years. And as I've told people in our company, you do this job long enough, and this kind of thing's going to happen, and there's no way to brace, to prepare. You just got to love on your kids,
Right.
and the best you can. And there wasn't really much debate about playing Reinhardt, was it? I mean, once you got a day into it,
and I was open with the kids about it, just because it was, for me, it was an open process. I am old school coach in a lot of ways, but I want our kids to want to play, first of all, and it talking with them, because I was real open with them. We have a leadership group, and it basically was the way I look at it, and it's the way I've had to deal with some things in life, even with tragedies in my life, is I've handled things real bad with some tragedies because I was idle. To me, being idle are demons, because too much can get in your mind, too much
time on your hands.
too much time on your hands. So I want to be active. So, if it was me, and if it was just my decision, we would probably went and played, because I do think that they need to get back in the routine as quick as they can, because that's a life lesson. You've got, at some point, you have move on. Move on doesn't mean you forget anything, right, or you're not honoring anybody, but
you got to take steps.
Life goes on. But after talking with them, half of them wanted to do that and half didn't. And I'm not going to go play a game where half of the kids didn't want to play. And it's not a conference game. Coach Miller at Reinhardt's been just absolutely, he texts me every day.
Well, I want to ask you how that conversation and that dialogue went.
It wasn't even, as soon as I told him what happened, before I even broached things, because I called him Sunday afternoon just to let him know what was going on. I said, I don't know what we're going to do yet. And he had already told me, he said, Coach, I don't care if we play. Don't worry about you having to do that, because he, it speaks volumes of who he is as a person. And they dealt with something, not with kids, but 3 or 4 years ago, they lost a coach in a fire, a D-line coach in a house fire. And so he's kind of dealt that with a team aspect before. So but he's been fantastic. And it was just, I want to make sure that we, first of it was touch and go. You're only 24 hours into the accident. You don't know the extent of everybody's injuries either. And you got to make a decision. We're a small NAI school on a budget. Hey, we got to cancel hotel rooms, buses. There's a lot of decisions they don't even factor into it. The kids don't. It's like, we got to decide this pretty quick, because you have to do stuff. But I think it's for the best. And I told the team, if we don't, like we've practiced we've kind of just treated this as an off week. So we've practiced, because that's 2 hours that we can take our mind off something, get back in a little routine. And it's actually, the yesterday's practice, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. But today's practice was pretty good. It was a little back to normal or whatever, but it's going to be a process. But the biggest thing is just, we got to rely on our relationships with each other and draw everybody in. And just, I'm a big believer, I tell our guys all the time, and I think if you're a coach and you don't tell your kids this, I don't think you're much of a coach. You need to tell your kids you love them every day. I tell, I do that with my own kids, but I tell our players that all the time, and I think love, because we got to love on those families that are going through. I don't even want to put myself, because I do feel a little bit as a parent, but I'm not their actual parent, and I can't even imagine putting myself in Mr. and Mrs. Webb's position. All the family's position, just putting yourself through that. But our job is to love everybody, and you just, life is precious. You need to tell people you love them every day.
Switch gears if we can and just talk about the football game just a little bit. You were down at half. You were down late in the third quarter to a Weber club that's pretty good, and to battle back and to score the last 15 points of the game, and the Mathis kid kicked the field goal to win that thing for you. Spoke volumes for your team to be in a hole and to come back and really give the home folks something to be happy for.
It was, just when we went in at halftime, and as I told the team after the game, I told them this: we're a different football team than last year. We're built different. There was no, you didn't see that just air come out of everybody that here we go again or anything like that. It was, if we went in at halftime, Coach Smith told defense, if you keep battling, you need to do what you're supposed to do your keys, do this and that, and we'll be okay. Offensively was just find a rhythm. We had to find a rhythm, and our identity and our rhythm is our run game, and that's we by God leaned on that run game, and it helped us. And then you get into all that as we start scoring too, and you talk, Hunter misses the extra point, and there after the game, he made the touchdown. I was like, well, I can go home tonight. And it wasn't about being home with Mama. It was about, I didn't want to hang out with him, but because he beats himself up so much about it. And then I learned, because I went to him about the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I told him, you're going to kick a field goal to win this game. So after the game, he tells me, please don't ever tell me that again. I'm not, and I'm a different person. I go tell people all the time, because I want people to believe in it. And he's like, you put too much pressure on me. I'm like, whatever. But the fact of, the don't ever give up, and we just played lights out the second half, and they were a good football team. They were really athletic, but defensively played great. 3 big plays is what killed us. The week before that, 1 big play is what gave up the score. If we quit giving up the big play, we're a really darn good defensive football team. And they played lights out. Second half, they played lights out. And
your defense got a touchdown for you with number one, kicking the ball, getting the ball popped out, and then I've gone blank on the young man's name who scooped and scored.
Jalen Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas, who scooped and scored down there. And you could start seeing a little more life come out of you guys.
Right. Then, everything just kind of steamrolled into it. And I thought the most important thing we did in the third, coming out in the third quarter, we get the ball. We don't score a touchdown, but we score points. We kicked a field goal and put points on the board just to start the whole process. And until there at the very end, that I guess the last drive where we got the roughing the punter and then got to ice the game, I think we scored on every possession after that too. After that field goal, our we just had a fumble, but the kids they just started. But things like that will make confidence.
Yeah,
it just started building confidence. Getting those points, I think, was just unbelievably huge and important to the whole game of coming out and getting something. It didn't have to be a touchdown, but it got a little momentum going.
Started the ball rolling.
Right.
Tim, good win for you guys. we're thinking about you. Hang in there. And I know the next several days are going to be awfully tough, but you got a good bunch of coaches with you and good support system there at the university.
Thanks a lot.
All right, pal. Tim Mathis, head coach at Cumberland University.
Go Phoenix.
We'll be back with more after these words. Segment of Coach's Night Out live from Town Square Social. And if everything goes right, we are live. And once it goes on Facebook Live, you can, while you're at work tomorrow, if you want to go see something else, and your boss may not like this, but you can go back and watch it on all these Facebook platforms, the Wilson Post, Main Street Preps, Blue Devil Broadcasting. It's all over the Main Street media of Tennessee, their Facebook platforms. Thursday, Springfield at Wilson Central. Friday, Siegel at Lebanon, Grace Christian at Friendship Christian, Warren County at Mount Juliet Christian Academy at Middle Tennessee Christian. Green Hill goes to Columbia Central to play in one of the great venues in Middle Tennessee, Lindsey Nelson Stadium, and Watertown plays at DeKalb County. Advantage Home Solutions LLC, Donnie Self and Rob Painter, Kenny Salas and the hometown team of Keller Williams Realty, THW Insurance Services LLC, Cumberland University Athletics, and the October 8th appearance of Tim Tebow, DT McCall and Sons, Carthage, Lafayette, Lebanon, Cookeville make this show possible. Josh Crouch, head coach at Green Hill, with me here for the final segment of the show. Your bunch coming off a 35-0 win over Wilson Central. And Josh, so many times the offense gets accolades for running up points, but a shutout is a big deal in high school football, and your defense has played well.
Yeah, and that's the first time in school history we've had back-to-back shutouts. It's only our third one we've had in 3 years. So I think you got to kind of see the growth of our program, where we are, and our kids finally being in a scheme and a system. I think as you develop in those 4 years, you're starting to understand where they fit at. So it's been good to watch them, from a distance, see kids finally have that teaching moment, that aha moment, and the light bulb clicks. It's been that way for the last 2 weeks. We're going to have a good test this week to see if we can keep the streak going. But it's been fun watching them play defense.
You're an old receiver,
Yeah.
and played on that side of the football at high school at Smyrna and at Cumberland. But you kind of migrated over to the defensive side of the football, and when you were at Wilson Central, you wound up being the DC there.
Yeah.
How did that progression take place? A guy who had that offensive mentality eventually working his way over to defense, and now defense is a big part of what you guys do.
Yeah, so in high school, I kind of knew early on I wanted to coach. I kind of knew that I wanted to be around the game regardless of what the career path was. And Alex Robbins, to me, was MTSU with Boots Donnelly.
Yeah.
Was the offense coordinator there. He came and was our quarterback coach with Sonny, and would sit us down and get us on the board and just really work down what is cover 4, what's cover 2, what's a conflict defender, what is a corner doing, the outside leverage or inside leverage. So for me, as I gradually decided to be a receiver or worked in that role, I wanted to study defenses to understand where my routes were, understanding where the holes were of the defense. If it was, too high shell and I was running a slant, I knew that the backer would be a little quicker in the slant window, so I wanted to get across to the second window. So to me, I studied defenses more as an offensive guy because I wanted to understand how it worked. So I owe a lot to Alex Robbins, even Dwayne Alexander, when we were understanding offense and how we fit in that system, and then going and producing. And then I had a chance to sit down with Donnie Suber for a while. And to me, there's no better defensive high school coach than Brad Dedman. So I got to spend 6 years with him. And I started at receiver, started at freshman, and then moved to receivers. And then I got the chance to coach secondary and safeties. And I think almost on the flip side of that, where defense, now that you know the offensive side of the ball so well, it helps transition to being a good corner or good safety starting in the back end, because you really understand what the offense is trying to do. So on both sides of that kind of flip side of it, Brad gave me my first shot to be the special teams coordinator, and then from special teams went to defense, and then got the chance to be a defense coordinator. So it's been a fun journey, but I would get, if anybody asking for advice, if you coach one side of the ball, I'd say learn the other as much as possible. That way the ins and outs of it when you have to go against it.
Who are the guys on your staff? Because your staff has kind of been a work in progress from when the day you guys opened. Who's doing what now?
Yeah, so Ben Kuhn has been our offense coordinator now for 3 years. He's our associate head coach also. He does a lot of things with us. Hunter Long came over last year from Siegel as a defense line coach. He's our defense coordinator now. And then the offense side of the ball, Matt Juby has been there for 3 years. Jeb Jones was added last year from Fayette Ware. We have Bobby Baskins, who was at McGavick with Jay Gore for a long time. And that pedigree is so strong there with Bobby. And he's really been a huge help for us on the offensive line play. And then we've got wide receivers with Ty Jobe, which was a Watertown great, done really great things at Tennessee Tech. And done some really special things. And then Ronnie Kramer has came on as our Mount Juliet O-line coach. To me, the more that you know about the offensive line, the better you are as a coach. So we've got 2 guys really helping out with that. And then with defensive side of the ball, Ahmad Childress has been here with us for 3 years. Ahmad played at Alabama, played for the Giants for a little while. And then we got linebackers. Dylan Cruz is new this year. Played at Cumberland whenever I was there. Him and Tim McKee were good friends, and we connected through a friend circle and got Cruz with us. Has been huge. Kevin Weeks, who was at Lebanon for a little while and was at Stewart's Creek for a little while, is now coaching our secondary. And then Trey Tienkin started with us last year. So that's the progression of our staff. I kind of help back and forth. Jeb Jones does our special teams. Ben Kuhn does our offense, and then Hunter Long does our defense.
You got some big play guys, but when you're running the football is when Green Hill's really clicking. And Brax Lamberth, 2 touchdowns, 70 yards, didn't have a lot of carries. You've got some other guys that can carry the football for you. And Mahoney, your quarterback, has picked up some big yards running the football as well.
Yeah, so defense, as a defensive guy, anytime you can add the 11th hat as a threat is tough because you lose your +1 on the defensive side of the ball. So Cade was actually our leading rusher last week. He had, I think he had 82 yards rushing. Brax was at 72, and then Carver was at 60-something. So, for us offensively, we felt like last year we were so heavy in one side of the ball, whereas Brax and Carver, Brax and Carver. Whereas this year I think we've had 7 guys score touchdowns so far this year. So it's been fun, and it's hats off to Coach Kuhn because there's so many kids on our side of the ball that can catch, and even young kids like Aaron Mattingly's had a touchdown last week, and
I saw Mattingly I'm trying to think where I saw him, but he's a big body and a great target and gets the thumbs together and can catch the football.
Very athletic, 6'4", big body frame, runs really well as a basketball kid too. So he's got that natural in and out quick movement space and rebounds the ball really well and catches the ball really well. So he's been phenomenal. He's continuing to grow as just a sophomore. And then Braden Staten really is an attribute to him because Braden has taken Aaron under his wing and really showed him how to run. And Braden's actually coached him more in-game situation, which is awesome to see as a coach. You see our older guys giving back to our sophomores is big. But, offensively, I think we've done a really good job with Brax, rotating him with Nico. I think Nico's had a great year so far. And then Cade is running the offense pretty well too.
How much freedom does he have at the line of scrimmage if he sees something to make an audible, to make a change at the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, so he's a 2-year starter for us, and honestly, in year 1, if he would have been eligible, probably would have been a 3-year starter now. And him being with Coach Kuhn for 3 years has been huge. So we give Cade checks with me. We allow him to check to a 3 technique or a 1 technique. We run encounter or buck. We like to say, hey, identify the 1, run it to way or 2, depending on game plan. And then we also ask them to identify a conflict player and then throw off of him, whether it's a run game with a pass attached to it. So Cade is a very headsy kid. He's competitive. He wants to, his thing with Cade's that he's a pleaser. He wants everybody to be happy, and he's got to divvy out that ball a lot on the offense side of the ball. But I think he's been an extra element for him this year. He's been able to run the football, and he's been so great at that. But he's the leader of our team. I mean, he goes as our offense goes, he goes, and we go as a team as our offense goes. So it's been really good to see him grow into that role.
Columbia Central's the opponent this week. Always a solid football program, and as I mentioned in the open, going to Lindsey Nelson Stadium to play in one of the great venues in Middle Tennessee, a true stadium, enclosed kind of stadium on both ends. It can get a little damp there. Sometimes it doesn't drain very well. I can go back several years to a mud bog game. I remember watching Lebanon play over there. What do you know about Columbia as you sit here right now?
My senior year at Smyrna, we actually played there in an away game. So we went there, and I'm always a big fan of high school stadiums myself. I don't think there's many better ones in Columbia, Lincoln County, Riverdale when it's rolling, like some of those places that you get a chance to go to. So being a coach now, you get to see some of those places. So going over there. Coach Sharp is coming from Lewis County. His first year. is one of the. I think he's Middle Tennessee's most winning head coach right now. I mean, I think he's accumulated over 300 wins. He's a Hall of Famer. He runs a little bit of what Herschel Moore run at Cumberland for a while. He's got
There's some option game in that as well.
He hasn't done option this
Okay.
year. He's done mainly wing tee stuff. A lot of what Dwayne and Cobley and Herschel and all them done while they were at Central. That group is very connected. So, Sharp has taken over a group of kids that are very, very athletic. Tom's still there helping them, which Tom got him to the second round last year. And I believe Tom's calling the offense, and Sharp is doing more of the defensive side of the ball. So they've been very disciplined. They've got some really, really good looking kids. And we're gonna be challenged this week defensively, because if you give them a crease, they can take it to the house. So we've got to be very disciplined on our side of the ball with our eye keys and making sure that we're trusting our reads.
Well, and the way that Green Hill has to play defense, you don't have big thumpers to sit in there and stop the run. You guys going to move around a little bit and reading keys and going where you're supposed to be. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming keying guards quite a bit of the time.
Yeah.
You got to play the way you've been coached all week.
Yes, and we do a lot of it, shifting and slanting on our defensive front. Our biggest guy down there right now is a linebacker that transitioned to D-line, Kel Burrows. It's about 6'2", about 225, 230. He's our biggest kid we got, and he does a great job in space. So, some of the times you see some of those bigger kids at offensive line, you can get them off of their platform by slanting or stemming or moving. Where we cannot be stagnant. So, like you said, we've got to be able to play with our kids. I think it's great with football. It's chess. Wherever you can put your chess pieces at to be successful, I think that's our job as coaches.
Does the fact that you played in an offense at Cumberland that had some elements of wing tee in it, does that help you as you prepare for somebody like Columbia Central who's all bought in and running buck sweep, trap, running the waggle and all that stuff?
All that Sally.
Yeah.
I think it definitely helps. I think, I grew up learning that offense as I went to college, 4 years in it with Dwayne, who I don't think, Dwayne's traveling and speaking on it. Bruce Cobley was there a lot of times. Herschel Moore was there at Cumberland. And I'd try to soak that in as much as possible and really be a student of the game. And I think it helps when you understand, what the keys are and what they're trying to do offensively. I definitely think it's a benefit. And we've been pretty successful in the last 2 or 3 years defending that kind of stuff, just because I think we have an understanding schematically where we are as a team to defend it.
As we head toward the end of this, your ninth grade program is going great guns. Talk about they're undefeated, right?
So far, yes, sir.
Talk about those a little bit.
Right now, I think it's 128 points scored to 20, I believe. We got a really, really great group. It's 56 kids. Quarterbacks led by Cannon Burrows. Our tight end last night. Cannon threw 5 touchdown passes last night. Offensive line wise, it's the first time that we have a really, really good group of 5 guys up front. And to me, like I said earlier, we got 2 offensive line coaches. Our OC, Ben, is the O-line guy at Trade. When you got a good offensive line, I think you can be successful. We're lucky to pair that with 3 or 4 really, really good backs. Amazing Danyon has been great. You got Dylan Hawks, Aiden, Sadler. I mean, offensive side of the ball has been really, really, really fun to watch. And defensively, it's fun to see our kids, because right now we're platooning on freshmen.
But then more kids get on the field.
That's the biggest thing for us is, if the kids playing both ways by the fourth quarter, are they going to be able to give what a kid playing one way could give you at that fourth and being fresh? And to us, we separate our staff to be able to coach both sides of the ball. And then we got a defensive lineman. His name's Ethan Harris, that could probably play for us right now on Friday nights. And we're allowing him to play both sides. Some of those kids you allow to happen. But I've been just sitting back and watching that develop as a head coach, to be able to see that, excited to coach him next year. But I think we're gonna need that if we're gonna be able to compete in 6A next year. We're going to need a couple of
numbers are going up. There's no question. Everybody in the county is probably going to be 6A except Watertown.
I would agree. Yeah, and I think it goes back to that almost that 9 AAA. Maybe I'm not sure if Station Camp will be there, but I do know Gallatin, probably Hendersonville will probably be the 2 if they pair us with Sumner, and that's for us that's a tough one to battle. between Gallatin, Hendersonville, Lebanon, Central, Mount Juliet.
That's a tough league.
That's a really tough. But that's what we want to be a part of. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to be one of the programs that when they look at that league, is saying that Green Hill is going to be a tough out too. So I'm excited to see that, see where we fall. Hopefully we'll fall, or we'll see it in October or whatever it is. But
October is when the decision is going to be made.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's when they draw the lines or the classification, or at least tell you whether you're 6. I have no doubt we will be there.
Yeah.
We'll be 6. But for this year, we're hoping to be able to compete and have a little bit of a Cinderella run like last year.
What's it been like? Because you got some middle school kids in that building. Is it kind of nuts at times in there?
Well, we're fortunate to have a third level. And right now, our middle school stays at the third level the entire time. Unless they're going to gym or they're going to a certain class that's downstairs, like a elective.
So they stay on the third floor.
Yeah, we don't get to see them, and
that's
we're not allowed to talk to them either. So as TWSAA, it's not one building, so we're not allowed to go and talk to them or see them or any of that, or athletes, or even just general. My daughter's an 8th grader there, and I see her when she comes to school in the morning. So that's about the only time I get to see her. But I'm thankful for it. I think it's great for our community to start being in our high school a little bit. And
Well, if you didn't have that, given what happened to the schools that got blown up, Mount Juliet's in the same boat. It'd be an awful situation.
Well, in year 1, there was a time where we didn't know we were going to open as a high school. There was a lot of time where we were going to say, hey, we're going to house those people that lost their home site. We're going to house them at Green Hill maybe. And, we – trying to play with COVID and tornado and stuff. So there was a lot of things that went into year 1 for us to get off the ground to, look back at and see where we're at now is kind of just, it's fun to look back and see kind of how God works and how everything worked out.
I remember going to your practices at the old Mount Juliet High School, which is Mount Juliet Middle, and your vehicle was the equipment locker. And I walk out there, and there's a pile of large practice pants and mediums and smalls laid out in the parking lot, and the guys are picking their stuff up. You guys have come a long way. And that's got to make this journey so much more pleasurable and meaningful from where you came from.
Yeah, and even in that, like for that, now we have 8-year-olds playing on our high school field.
Yeah.
And we got 12-year-olds, and we've got kids and parents we go to the grocery store and we see Green Hill stuff on. Like, it's not to me, I don't think there's much like winning Friday nights is fun. I think high school football is the most pure form of football. And I think we're starting to get our community up and running. We're closing on a house on Friday. We're moving up here and we're excited about, being here and hopefully planting roots for a long time. And, what the 3 years has given us, hopefully we can give another 3 or 30 years to, building this thing to be pretty successful and fun. But it's been a whirlwind, but it's been so fun just sitting back and seeing our kids be successful and our coaches. It all starts with the kids. You don't have the kids, as coaches, It is what it is. But as coaches, as who we've had and our guys that have stayed, I couldn't be more thankful for that group, and our administration has been so supportive of us as well. So I think the community is starting to grow, and seeing that more is for me is more rewarding than the Friday nights.
Best of luck at Columbia Central. Tough place to go. Go get them.
Yeah.
Josh Crouch, head coach with Green Hill, with us on Coach's Night Out. We appreciate the visit, pal.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, man.
We'll be back next week, same time, same place, right here at Town Square Social for Coach's Night Out. For all of our sponsors, for Justin back here pushing all the buttons and knocking over lamps and making everything just go such a great way for us. I'm Tommy Bryan. I'll talk to you later.